What games should you watch in week 1 of college football bowl season? And where do we stand on filling open jobs and NFL draft declarations? All that and more tonight on the Football Guys College Football Show.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. We're live. Finally, we're back. If you're listening to this, we are back in our home environment, and we're excited to get you. Before we get into this, make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment, do those things. If you have anything as you're going through it, now that we're live, we can answer your questions live, and we're going to get into that. But before we get into the Bull Week, so it's Bull Extravaganza. I can't say that word. Screw it. So Bull Week, and it's Spotlights today. We're going to go through notable draft selections, returners, coaching news, but some somber news to start, just because I think he had a big impact on a lot of us on here. Mike Leach, Mississippi State coach, passed away. And it's been a tough one for me just this last couple of days, thinking about like the impact, seeing all the stories. What has been your kind of takeaway from the coaching community, Jeff, that you've seen with Mike Leach?
I think that he's a guy that I don't know. His greatness is maybe undersold because this isn't a guy that ever won a national championship or really even got a shot at coaching a blue blood program. You know, Mike Leach was Mike Leach, but his impact through the sport is so huge that bringing in the air raid system in, popularizing those concepts, him and Hal Mummy working together, bringing that Lavelle Edwards system from BYU, modernize it. And when you really look at, and a lot of what I look at with coaches is outside of the maybe the trophies and what they won is their coaching trees and what they were able to build. And, you know, Lincoln Riley is an offshoot of Mike Leach's coaching tree. Cliff Kingsbury is an offshoot of Mike Leach's coaching tree. You know, Mike Leach had his fingers were on Patrick Mahomes' development. You know, you look throughout the sport, the impact. High school football is forever different because of what Mike Leach brought to the sport. Because high school football, even through the 90s, was a lot of the veer and, you know, I formation, a lot of running the ball, and Leach's concepts popularized the passing game and made it accessible for even down to junior high. Because I know when I grew up, and probably when you guys grew up playing football, our coaches didn't think we could throw the ball, even though, you know, at playground we would throw it around all over the yard. But once you got in organized football, coaches of that age did not think that you could throw the football. And Leach really brought those concepts and modernized it. And I think that it's so hard because it's sudden, and that's part of it. The timing of the year is difficult because I think we're all introspective about family right now. But I think where our ages are, it's that generation above us that and facing your own mortality, you know, and you move from being like the children's generation and you're losing grandparents to the parent generation, and now you're losing parents. And Mike Leach is younger than my parents, and so that's something where you're face to face with that morality a little bit more.
Yeah, and in terms of his football impact, you know, you talked about his coaching tree and how he revolutionized the game. I mean, I said something to one of my coworkers the other day. I said, "There's no Patrick Mahomes really without Mike Leach kind of revolutionizing how the game was played," because Patrick Mahomes' college film was that air raid system, and he operated in a way that was only accessible because of Mike Leach, and I think that really, like you hit on, I mean, down to the high school level, we're looking at a guy that has impacted football more than anyone knows. So I think, you know, it's very sad, and you're seeing all the just really great stories, excuse me, about, you know, cool. He would, you know, he got a ride from a guy's dad, and then he told his dad the story, and then, you know, he told the same story, you know, 10, 20 years later. It's just, he was a really great guy from everything that we've seen. And it's unfortunate. Mississippi State did hire the defensive coordinator to be the head coach. We'll talk about the coaching news. A lot of people are kind of trashing the timing of that, but they have to do it. They have a bowl game. National Signing Day is coming around. And so, you know, that's what Mike Leach would have wanted to. And I think that that's important to remember.
I think he was a perfect encapsulation of like what we all are. Not perfect, kind of weird and creep, and just kind of just in terms of like what he is like a football coach, and talked about Pirates and like that. And he arguably was part of one of the greatest games I've ever watched. Texas Tech versus Texas and sideline Crabtree, like those type of things that we've talked about. Like it's been a weird kind of few days talking about him, but I mean, obviously RIP to him and his family and everything that like they're going through, but his impact, you've seen it. And it's just, you see the coaching tree, you see that there. He left a hell of a legacy, and, shout out to Leach for doing that. And he wasn't afraid to say what he felt. And I think in today's day and age, the way that is, it's a little different now, but you look at the interviews, like he's going to lay it all out there. And I loved his thing about what would you want to be in your obituary? And he said, I don't care. I'll be dead. And I think that's kind of who Leach is. Like, that's kind of where we're at. All right, let's jump over to the Bull Week. So we got some spotlights. We got some Bull games this week, and we're getting into it again. Now, Bull Week's a little weird now, as we all know. It's a little bit different with the opt-outs and everything there. But we're going to talk about, Florida versus Oregon State. Oregon State, right? Am I crazy here? What am I doing? Yeah, Oregon State. So when we're looking at this game and we're talking about it, like Florida, they don't really have a quarterback right now. I know we're going to talk about who's going to be out there, but obviously they lost theirs. It looks like Miller's going to be there, Jack Miller. Jeff's boy, Ohio State. Jeff should have known that, right, Jeff? You never asked us who was going to play quarterback. And so when you're looking at these guys, I will say this. Oregon State has one of my favorite players in the game, Damian Martinez, running back. And we were pretty high on him. I was pretty high on him coming in. And he is if you haven't checked this kid out yet, 970 yards, 7 touchdowns. He's a very solid back. And Oregon State's been playing very well, 9-3. The Gators are 6-6. It almost feels like Oregon State needs to win this game for his little Pac-12 bragging rights here. What is your takeaway from this game, Jeff?
I think that's part of it. Florida really set the tone for the season for the Pac-12. If you remember back to week 1, beating Utah, and how big was that now? Utah being the Pac-12 champions and really kind of knocked the luster off the Pac-12 back in week 1. Obviously, Anthony Richardson was a massive part of that. He's gone. I would expect very physical football game between these two teams, because I think that's Oregon State's going to bring that tone, and Florida's going to be forced to match it, because if they don't, then Oregon State can run all over them with Damian Martinez. But Jack Miller will be interesting to see. He came in, he was a 4-star quarterback coming into Ohio State back in 2020, I believe was when he entered college. I think he was quarterback number 13 or so of that class. So seeing him get an opportunity in this and really kind of that shot to earn next year. And so if you're new to college football, if you don't watch a lot of these, and a lot of what you're watching on bowls like this is a preview of next year's team. And I think that's why it's important to make a bowl for a lot of these programs. Billy Napier being the first-year coach at Florida, I think it was important for them to get to 6-6, make that bowl, and that way they get that extra month of practice time, but they're also able to roll forward the season next year. And really, when you're looking at it, look at the performances of these games, see what teams do well, try to put that in your memory banks, and try to remember that going forward to next year, because teams can carry a lot of momentum out of these games.
Yeah, I think this game has a lot more appeal if Anthony Richardson doesn't declare early. Obviously, he's a very fun player to watch. He's sometimes a frustrating player to watch. We'll get into a lot of discourse about him over the next few months, but I'm excited to see Jack Miller, because that was a very early transfer portal ad for Napier, and so it was a priority to bring in a quarterback that he felt could run his offensive scheme. Now, Jack Miller is not the same type of guy as Anthony Richardson or the kid that he had at Louisiana before he left. And so I'm curious to see what this offense looks like, because it is predicated on the run. Both of these teams run the ball very well. I'm excited to see Montrell Johnson, Trevor Etienne, and kind of what that looks like without the threat of Anthony Richardson on the field. And I do think, this is going to give us, like you said, a glimpse into what next year could be, but also they have a couple of freshmen coming in next year that could push for that starting job, and maybe they see a need to, fast track that development for some of those guys coming in. So I'm excited to watch this one. I think, Damian Martinez versus the Florida running backs is the battle that I'm watching, because I wonder who is going to come out of this with more rushing yards.
Well, I think this is going to be the Trevor Etienne game. Like, I like Trevor Etienne a lot. Like, I know Montrell is there. Etienne's very solid back, and he's not his brother, so we got to just stop talking about that. But I think he's there. You guys are right, though. This is Miller's chance. Like, Miller's got to go win this, because Jaden Rashad is coming. So if you guys don't know necessarily about, recruiting out there, Jaden Rashad is a California kid, so shout out California. Got to do that whenever I can. Ranked 7th in the 23 class. Like, he's coming. Me and Christian have broken him down already on one of our podcasts. We talked about him, but he's raw. he's going to need a little bit of time. So Miller could step in there. And I know Florida has been in the transfer market portal looking at quarterbacks. Like they've been inviting guys and trying to go get them. There's a little bit of rumors out there about Mertz maybe flipping his commitment from Kentucky to Florida. So like we are hearing these rumors still kind of go out of there. So that's something to watch. But if Miller plays well, I think that's the game. Like, and that's a lot of pressure for him. He's got to go and get it, or he'll just be a career backup, right? And that's just what we're going to be getting with him. All right, the second game that we're going to highlight, Cincinnati. This was a fun game before all this stuff happened, but Cincinnati versus Louisville. We're just going to call this the Scott Satterfield game since he's now coaching over there at Cincinnati. He left Louisville. He said he's not going to coach. I think this would be funny if he coached Louisville, beat Cincinnati, and then went to Cincinnati, but you ruined our fun here. Again, when you're looking at the game, a lot of opt-outs in this game. We saw Malik Cunningham opted out for the NFL draft. We've seen that. As far as like impact players, I guess Evan Prater, who I still like. I know these guys make fun of me. I think he should still be all right. Like going in 23 season, what's he going to be? Corey Kiner never really got run after he transferred from Alabama. So like, what is that? Jawar Jordan's going to be there from Louisville, but a lot of unknowns in this game. Jeff, what do you think?
First off, thank you to the Fenway Bowl for putting this matchup together, because I think early bowl season, they did a very good job. These are two rivals that have not played since 2013. They used to play for the Keg of Nails. They used to be in the same conference. They're right down the road from each other. Louisville, I think, is maybe about a 3-hour drive from Cincinnati. So they're pretty close, and formal rivalries, reigniting that rivalry. Obviously, Scott Satterfield adding a level onto that, it makes it that much more interesting. And both of these teams are feeling a little bit burnt by their coaches. Obviously, Luke Fickell leaving Cincinnati leaves those players with that taste in their mouth, but then Satterfield coming over here from Louisville is another one. And I mean, Satterfield was in trouble at Louisville, and I think that people need to recognize and realize that. And so I think Cincinnati, what they wanted to do was keep the momentum and have an experienced coach in there, somebody that's familiar with the area, somebody that's familiar with, as Cincinnati moves into the Power 5, somebody that's familiar with working out of the ACC, working in a Power 5 conference. And so that's why they brought Satterfield in. But Satterfield, that he was struggling in Louisville for a little bit. So I think that's something to note and to notice coming into this game. But really, it's going to be down to, I believe Louisville has gotten hammered with portal entries, if I remember correctly. So Cincinnati is a little bit more of an experienced team. Obviously, the team that made the college football playoff last year, and they had their struggles this year, but at the same time that they were able to grow and learn from that. And so I think that they should be, I like their side coming into this game, just when everything involved, the opt-outs and everything else going on there. But just a lot of intrigue for the former Keg of Nails game. So it's fun that they're playing this rivalry game.
Yeah, a name we haven't mentioned, Tyon Evans, who was a Tennessee transfer. Tennessee, right? That sounds right. Went from Tennessee to Louisville. He actually already declared for the NFL draft as well. So, this game, this is a larger conversation. But bowl season used to be a lot of fun when this wasn't the case. We didn't have a whole lot of opt-outs from bowls. Now we have to look, towards the coaching changes and the portal things. But I do think that this game on the field is going to be exciting to watch. I think, again, this is a look forward to next year. This is, I think, Evan Prater's last shot at becoming the starter again next year, because obviously with a new coach coming in, I don't know if he's necessarily the same style of quarterback that Satterfield's going to be looking for. And so this could be his tryout, and then he may also hit the portal after this game. But overall, I think Louisville's rushing attack is going to struggle because Cincinnati has a very, very good front seven, and specifically the interior of that front seven. I think that's kind of the recipe to beat Louisville. And while they played some good football at times down the stretch, I think without two of your impact players being there on offense is going to kind of hurt them a little bit. But we'll see.
All right, let's go to my game of the week, boys. New Mexico. We're going down to New Mexico. No one goes to New Mexico for anything. Sorry if we have any New Mexico listeners out there. But New Mexico Bowl in Albuquerque, baby. SMU versus BYU. SMU is a 1.5-point favorite here. But, hey, you know who's playing in this game? everybody seems to be playing in this game. Jaron Hall is playing in this game. Quarterback from BYU. He says he's going. They're moving down there. I know he had an injury, but it looks like he's going to go. He threw for 3,000 yards this year, 31 touchdowns, so he's looked good. And everybody needs to know who Puka Nacua is. He's a very good receiver from BYU, and he's going to get some love in this draft process. Has he declared? He declared, right? He's leaving.
I don't believe it's official. I think he plans to after this bowl game.
I heard it. He is. I mean, when he's healthy, he's a solid player, man. Puka Nacua is a good name that you guys got to watch out there. On the flip side, Tanner Mordecai's playing, and so is Jordan Curley. Everybody seems to be playing in this game if they're healthy, and so this is going to be a high scoring, fun matchup because their defenses are both, they struggle a little bit. Well, not everybody. Rashee Rice isn't playing, but besides him, everybody else is playing there. Jeff, what do we think about this game?
This is the highest over-under of the weekend. Defense need not apply. This is the first time these two teams have played since 1997, which is kind of interesting because BYU was pretty solid through the early 90s, back through Lavelle Edwards' time there going back, and SMU was very good in the 80s period. So they never really overlapped during that stretch. And so they've only played 3 times. They haven't played since 1997. So it's an interesting matchup there. But it does seem like everybody's interested. Everybody's ready to go. And these are teams that they're 7-5, but BYU has played some major opponents. They played Oregon, they played Notre Dame, they beat Baylor. So those are things to note. And SMU, they played TCU close. TCU obviously is a college football playoff team, and they played Maryland as well. So these are teams that, while they are not Power 5, they can play at that level, and they've stepped up into some of those. And so this will be one that, if you want to check out a bowl game, this is probably going to be your most watchable bowl game of the weekend.
Yeah. The unfortunate part about this bowl weekend is that there are also NFL games on Saturday. So this is the game that I would be drawn to the most. And so if Rashee Rice were playing in this game, I think it'd be a lot of fun. Unfortunately, he is hurt. Kevin, you said everyone who's healthy is playing. That's true. He kind of fought through an injury over the last couple of weeks. I mean, he is very, very high up in the SMU record books. He is a very, very talented receiver, and I think he's kind of pushing towards a first-round selection in the NFL draft with how this wide receiver class is shaping up. And we don't even have all the declarations just yet. So I think him, opting out, getting healthy for the Senior Bowl in the pre-draft process makes sense. But Jordan Curley's had a fantastic year as well. So and having Tanner Mordecai out there, he is, I believe, going to the Senior Bowl, but he is still planning to play in this game. And so I think the quarterback matchup is really fun. It's a couple of old guys that have been in college for a really long time, but that operate their offenses really, really well. So a lot of points scored in this one. And I love watching Jaron Hall. He's one of my favorite prospects in this class. He's going to be pretty high in my rankings, definitely higher than consensus when we get down to it. So I'm excited to watch this one.
Yeah. And so those are the big 3. I think Troy versus UTSA on Friday is a good fun game. Troy's a -1 favorite there, point favorite. But when you're looking at these games, you really manipulate, go through who's playing, who's not, so we can see it. But SMU BYU is going to be a lot of fun. That would be the game I would highlight because it does have some NFL implications too, fantasy implications, rookie implications. Like there's a lot of things about that game. So if you're kind of borderline, dipping your toes in college, that's the game to kind of go through. All right. We want to give you guys some notable draft declarations. So we're going to go through some of these things and just talk about some of these prospects. And this is where we're going to start preparing you for your rookie guys and just your show there. So one thing that you guys should know, if you're new to the show on the channel, like January from then on, we start talking about all these rookies. We're going to get you prepared for your dynasty drafts and all of that. So we're starting tonight. And I think we've got to talk about Will Levis, boys. That's Christian's guy. We're going to get into this a little bit. I will tell you this, okay? I'm going to tell you guys this. One thing I do, and I write my profiles for the site, I use NFL Mock Draft Database, and what that site does is it puts every mock, like the one me and Christian wrote and the one that Jeff's going to write here in the future, they put them all into a database, and it shows like, hey, what is their projections? And it's not a perfect tool, but it does show kind of what the consensus is around these guys. And so when I go over each prospect, I'm going to tell you where they have him at, where their consensus at. So Will Levis right now is consensus first round pick. His best is basically 7 to the Colts. I see the Colts all over the place right now drafting Levis. What is your take on that, Jeff?
Colts have to take a quarterback, and I think that they've positioned themselves this season to take a quarterback. I think that it's going to be interesting to play out because you've got Bryce Young, you've got CJ Stroud have been there in the front all year long. Will Levis has kind of been running right behind them, but we're hearing a lot of great buzz right now from supposed NFL scouts loving the tools on Will Levis, and that's really a tool projection. People have thrown Josh Allen out there, and I think that that's very, very aggressive. I don't think Will Levis's arm talent is quite at the level of Josh Allen. I don't think his athleticism is quite at the level of Josh Allen, but at the same time, he is a very, very toolsy prospect. And then I think Anthony Richardson, we mentioned him in the Florida Bowl game, he's going to be right there too. And so I think that while all season long, we kind of thought there would be two quarterbacks ahead, I think once we get in the process, teams are going to look at all four of these guys and they're going to kind of group them together and they're going to see how this breaks out. So you can't write off Will Levis. And I know that he's a popular dark horse pick to go number one in the draft right now, if you're that type of gambler that wants to play that. But I think that evaluation is a little bit aggressive for me personally, because I think that there are things that Will Levis has been in college for a little while, been around the game. And I think that there are steps that you want to see him take that he hasn't exactly taken through there. And I think that people need to realize Kentucky had talent. I know that Kentucky lost Wan'Dale Robinson. Kentucky did have talent around him this year. Yeah. And you're already seeing people talk on shows that they're saying that Kentucky was barren of talent. Chris Rodriguez is probably going to be in camp, fight to make a roster, running back. And then Dane Key, that young freshman, and then Baron Brown, the other freshman wide receiver. Like, these guys can make plays. And so to pretend that Will Levis was carrying a completely barren team on his back is just kind of painting an incorrect picture.
Yeah. Will Levis, to me, there are a lot of things that Will Levis does well. And a lot of those things are not things that you can teach. But the things that he doesn't do well are critical things that make a successful NFL quarterback. And if you can't read the field and if you can't trust what you're seeing at the college level, I know it's the SEC, but there's definitely some questions that I think he's going to need to answer, because if I'm betting on tools, we mentioned Anthony Richardson. I think I'd rather bet on the crazy upside of those tools with less experience, more rawness, and things like that over Will Levis. But everything we hear is that the NFL loves this kid. And so with him declaring, now we put the ball in motion. We're going to be talking about this probably nonstop over the next 5 months as we get down to the NFL draft, because I think the odds are going to shift. We know that that's the case. I think right now he's the odds-on third favorite to be the first quarterback off the board. I don't think it's going to happen, but I also think that just from what we've heard, I would not rule that out. I think that would be pretty crazy, though, personally.
I do want a quick note on the quarterbacks. Bryce is going to play against Kansas State, correct?
I don't know what's happening in Alabama, Jeff.
Nobody knows what's going on in Alabama. But Will Levis is definitely not playing in the bowl game, right?
No.
Correct.
Yeah, and Anthony Richardson's not playing in the bowl game. So the one guy that really has an opportunity to cement his stock and step ahead is CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud going into the college football playoff. If CJ Stroud lights up Georgia and Michigan through the college football playoffs, CJ Stroud is going number one overall in the NFL draft. I'm telling you, right? He is like, everybody is backed off of him so hard. Two great games is going to propel him to the top of this class.
Christian, do you remember when Jeff was talking Cj Stroud was like the worst quarterback?
He was really upset after the Ohio State game, and I understand.
Do you remember that? He called him Walmart quarterback, I'm pretty sure. I might be putting words in his mouth. I'm not sure, but I'm just no, maybe. But I'm just, I remember that. But no, he's right. Like, if he does perform very well in the playoffs, is going to be there. I argued today when I was doing a couple other podcasts, like, Anthony Richardson to me is the better prospect for fantasy because of the value built in you're going to have with the rushing attack. And if he goes to the Giants or someone like that later, I would rather take a positional player in that first. But we are doing a mock right now with landing spots based on these, and we're doing this on our stuff. And I'll tell you right now, Anthony Richardson went at the 107. Levis didn't go to the 202 with that first round draft capital. So it's interesting kind of look at that. But that's with some degenerates. So when we're thinking of fantasy wise, like the common kind of fantasy guy, I think people will be a little higher on Levis. But that just shows you, like, I think Richardson's going to be more of a value. I really do. Like, and I trust him more probably than Levis going in that first. But I've never been a Levis guy, so that's neither here or there. All right, let's move on to Jalen Hyatt. He announced that he's going out. Tennessee wide receiver, Blitnikoff Award winner. He beat Marvin Harrison Jr. to Jeff's chagrin. This year, he had 1,200 yards, 15 touchdowns receiving. He really popped off. I mean, his explosion. I mean, he averaged 220 yards receiving the last 2 years before this season. So he definitely stepped up. According to this mock draft database right now, his overall ranks about 38. So he's either early second or late first. So he's kind of in that area right now. And they have him mocked to the Falcons in the second round, which is kind of a weird spot, but I mean, maybe he's going to go there. What do we think of Hyatt, Jeff?
It's going to come down to the 40-yard dash. I really think with him, and because he's a guy that he can run the fastest combine time. And if he does that, then that's going to cement that conversation around him, because I think teams are going to fairly be concerned about his physicality, because he's not going to be a physical receiver at the next level. So you're going to have to see that speed and see that speed translate, because it does show up. You watch him on tape, and he certainly is that fast. He goes out there and he can light the combine on fire. If he runs that time, he's going to push his way up into probably the first round if he's the fastest wide receiver, because he's shown enough receiving ability. But I think that there are reasons to be concerned about him, especially when you're doing, your dynasty rookie drafts, because I don't know that he's physical enough at the NFL level to handle real volume. He's going to be a splash player. He's going to be able to make big plays, but a lot of what happened at Tennessee was, it wasn't. Cedric Tillman was the physical wide receiver at Tennessee, between him and Jalen Hyatt, and Cedric Tillman is the better wide receiver at Tennessee. But it's really going to come down to if he's the fastest wide receiver in the draft, somebody's going to talk themselves into him.
Yep. I don't, you're going to see a lot of Jameson Williams comparisons, I think, because of the speed. But what's really important to remember is Jalen Hyatt's probably going to go to the combine, and he's probably only going to run the 40, and he's going to skip all the other workouts because laterally he's not explosive. And I don't even think he's going to run the routes at the combine, because his routes are a little, they're not very clean. I will say that. Too many steps in there. He's not a prospect that I will be on for Dynasty, especially. I will be very off of Jalen Hyatt, even with first round draft capital, because he just has the most clear. Now he is a younger prospect. You mentioned Cedric Tillman. I think he's a really good player. I think it took him a while to get going at Tennessee. And so teams are going to look at things like that. But to me, Hyatt is no more than, what John Ross was at the NFL level, which was a few big games here and there because he runs fast.
Ooh. I love this time of season, baby.
Sorry,
we
Joe.
are here. No, but I agree in terms of, like you said, like his route running is a little suspect. I don't think he has a route besides go. Like when you watch his tape, I don't see a lot of nuance. And if people are comparing him to Jameson, which I've seen that's really disrespectful to Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams should have won the Heisman probably last year, to be quite honest. Like the level of nuance that he has is in route running, his breakaway speed, his skill Hyatt's not close to that. There's a reason why Hyatt kind of have struggled the last 2 years. I think that offense predicated that a little bit, and we saw that nuance more with Jameson. Hyatt's not in that category. I saw him go as high as 106 in a mock already. That's crazy. Like there's people talking about his wide receiver one. Craziness there. And yeah, if he's going that high, if he's in the second round, I'll take a shot. But if not in the first, like there's no way I'm drafting Jalen right now in this process in the first round. Coming out hot. I love it. I love this season, boys. We got into it. We're going to piss a lot of people off. All right, let's talk about this guy. Tanner McKee, quarterback from Stanford. I don't know what's going on here. Third round projected round is where he's going in terms of mock drafts, but he does have a 7% first round grade. So there's kind of some weirdness going on here with where he's at. I know you included him, Christian. What do you think with McKee?
Well, I think he's got physical tools that people like. I think there are a few sites that definitely boost up his average here for what it's worth. I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I won't say the ones, but there's a few sites that really like this kid, and I think from a tools perspective, I think I can see it. He's got the arm talent. He's got the ability to kind of work off a structure, but he's not a very good athlete. He's dealt with injuries a little bit, and so. He's a smart football player, but he also makes some crazy decisions. And I know Stanford didn't have a whole lot of weapons. I don't really want to get into my evaluation of Tanner McKee, but when you look at what this quarterback is, with a lot of people returning and a lot of people just not panning out, I could see a world in which he's the fifth quarterback off the board, maybe even ahead of a guy like Hendon Hooker, just with the injury concerns there. But I think it's, sixth quarterback off the board, third round, fourth round. I think that's the sweet spot. I think people are going to see Davis Mills in him, and I understand it because Stanford quarterback, tall, white guy. But is that what you want to draft based on what he's splitting time with Jeff Driscoll right now, guys. So I don't really know if that's what I mean. I think he's going to be an NFL backup for a long time. So.
Yeah, and you're going to hear all the buzzwords with Tanner McKee. You're going to hear hardworking. You're going to hear does it right. You're going to hear,
Sneaky.
Stanford quarterback, gym rat probably. So these things that you come to expect, and Tanner McKee is going to fit that to a T, and he's probably going to, I don't know if I see him as a day 2 guy. I think that he's trying kind of that 4th round, 5th round. We're going to bring him in. We're going to take a chance on him. Maybe we've got an established quarterback already, and we need to build that pipeline behind him. Or maybe, the Kirk Cousins situation, we're going to take a quarterback early and then we're going to grab a guy on day 3 just to roll the dice and just to see how it works out. I think that's what you're dealing with here on Tanner McKee. I don't see him right now. I have to dive in and do a little bit more mock drafts on this class and kind of rank out and go there. But I can't see drafting him right now in a 4-round rookie draft. But that's just me. But, if he gets capital and super flex, maybe he sneaks in there. But I just don't see it really there.
No, I wrote an entire profile on this kid 2 years ago. Like, I like Tanner, but he's not in this category to me. I don't think so. Like, he could be a very solid backup though. Like, based on the backups we see, like he's a kind of kid I would love to have on my roster as a backup. Like for the Cowboys, I'd love to have him as a backup because I think he could do very well. But yeah, as far as fantasy goes, I don't see that. I don't understand one of those sites that you're talking about though. I don't know what they're doing. They must be a little behind on their grading. All right, let's go to the next guy, Rakeem Jarrett here. And this is a kid that I really like. Maryland wide receiver. And he just didn't have that season, right? When we're looking at it, like last year at 829 yards, receiving 5 touchdowns. This year, 471 and 3 touchdowns. He just did not project. And we didn't really know if he was going to come out or not, but he did. He just announced it. So Rakeem Jarrett did. He's projected in the 4th round, but I think he's actually a value. He's going to test well. Now, Christian has a joke for you a little bit. He's going to make fun of this, but he's going to test well. He's a 5-star kid. What do you think of this guy, Jeff?
It's preseason, the Maryland uniform, watching his tape from last year. I think that they're in their shades of deceptively, Maryland has turned out NFL wide receivers, between Stephon Diggs, DJ Moore. Yeah, Chris Moore had a great game this past weekend. Guys have come from Maryland to the NFL. And so I think watching his tape in the preseason, there are reasons to believe that he would be the next guy to do it. He's going to get drafted, but yeah, he didn't have that year that you would want to have seen. And really, Jacob Copeland played well for Maryland. Jayshon Jones played well for Maryland. Maryland kind of cycled through, and it was really kind of the expectation, Rakeem Jarrett and Dante Demas coming into the season, but they weren't really the guys. And so this is one that, maybe he tests his way out of it. Maybe he works hard in the combine and does those types of things, but he left a lot to be desired, I think, on that last tape and that last impression. And so, this is a guy that it'll be interesting to see, because I think that if you're in a dynasty league with Devy people, he's a guy that probably, if you're a Devy mind person, or if you're into Devy, touching a little bit, but you didn't get super plugged into college football this year, he might go a little bit higher for those people than you're going to see once you kind of get into it, and depending on where the draft capital lands on him.
Yeah, he can't catch. I think that's kind of the main thing. It's unnatural. And I think the problem is too, when you're playing with Talia Tagovailoa, you're not getting a lot of catchable balls either. He's definitely the worst Tagovailoa. And so I think with him going back to school, I think Rakeem maybe made the right decision. I don't think he wanted to transfer. I don't know. He's going to get drafted. He looks like a day 3 guy to me that tested really well, that you take a shot on late in a draft.
I'll be shocked if he goes. You don't think he's going to go day 2?
Well, here's the thing.
We have our first show bet. This is going to be a show bet for the draft process.
Here's the thing. The next guy we're about to talk about, I think, is a better player, and I think he goes before him because I think he tests equally as well.
Stop it. What are we doing right now? There is no way the next guy's a better player than this.
This is the bet. We'll make the bet.
Okay, well, whoever gets higher draft capital between these guys. All right, let's talk about the next guy, Jaden Reed from maybe I have Michigan State bias, but Jaden Reed, young kid from there, 4-year player out there in Michigan State, 636 yards this last year, kind of had a down year, but a little banged up, 5 touchdowns. Last year, though, as a junior, many thought he was going to come out. He had 1,000 yards receiving and 10 touchdowns, and he didn't. He probably should have came out last year, but he comes out this year. Right now on the database, he's at 6th round projected capital. But again, this is all fluid and there. What do you like about Jaden then, Christian?
I think he's a really good route runner. I think he's a really fluid athlete. I think his catch point ability is really good for a guy that's not that big. I think, you're looking at him and you say, well, that's a guy that can win vertically from the slot, but he can also kind of do some stuff after the catch. I think he has more explosion than I expected. And so when I tossed his film on, I think I think he could sneak his way into the 3rd round, and it's going to be the Velus Jones pick again. And people are going to be like, how? He was projected in the 6th, 7th round. But I think that this would be a pretty good investment because I think you can do a lot of different things with Reed that maybe you can't with Jarrett because, Reed can catch, and that's important when you're a wide receiver.
Jarrett can catch. I don't understand this nonsense.
He dropped a lot of balls this year.
Okay, he did. He can still catch.
He can, yeah.
And it's important to note that Jalen Naylor was on that Michigan State team last year too, and Reed was better than Naylor. And Naylor has been, he's a Minnesota Viking now, and he's getting some action in the NFL. So it's important to know that those two guys were on the field together, and Reed was the clear top receiver on that team. So if you're looking for an NFL comparable, I'm big on doing same schools and whatnot, but because recruiting, they're recruiting for guys that fit their system. And that's the way I see it. That's the way I believe. But I think that there's some similarities between the two of them. Maybe Naylor might be a little bit more explosive than Reed, but I think Reed is a little bit more of a developed physical player.
Yeah, I like Reed. I think Reed's fine, but Jarrett's not. We'll see.
We'll figure out that bet.
We'll figure it out. Yeah, I'm going to look like an idiot when Jarrett goes undrafted. All right, so Eric Gray is next. Hey, and Eric Gray, he came back, boys. Yeah, Tennessee, everybody kind of propped him up in 21, said, hey, this is a kid, top 3 running back in class, and he had 400 yards. But then he comes back this year, 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns. And as much as I've kind of been an Eric Gray hater, you can't, it's nothing to sneeze at the numbers that he put up this year in an offense that struggled a little bit. Right now he's projected a 6th round, but that's got to go up probably in this class. But this does show you the depth of this class so far, as long as everybody kind of comes out here. I know we've talked about Eric Gray a lot before, like last year we did. Now, not this year so much just because we haven't really seen him that much. What do we think about this kid, Jeff?
He can catch the ball, which I think is important. And when you're kind of trying to project a role in the NFL, he can work as that receiving back. And so that's going to be his entry point. I think he's a physical guy for that type of role too. And so there is a chance that he can grow into more. I don't know if I don't know. When I watch him, he's not very explosive. I feel like what you would expect to see out of, especially the talk that was around him. But I think he's skilled and he's kind of more, he's not physically Samaje Perine, but coming out of Oklahoma, a player that can work out of the backfield, that can catch the ball and work in that passing game. And if you're in PPR leagues, those are players to stash and keep an eye on, because I do think he can work and grow and develop into that type of role in the NFL.
Yeah, he's not lasting until the 6th round, by the way. I think this will kind of get updated in the next couple of months, but I've seen a lot of buzz from, the Athletics' Dane Brugler saying that there's a chance that he works into the day 2 discussion and round 3, round 4 type of guy. And, Josh Kelly's getting meaningful snaps in the NFL. I think Eric Gray's better than him. And I was a big Josh Kelly fan. So you just kind of look at what the running back landscape is and how it's going to shift pretty drastically here in the next couple of years. And you say, well, I think Gray is a player I'd like to have on my dynasty roster with the off chance that he gets a decently sized role.
Yeah, I think so too. I just looking at Gray. Gray's fine. He's going to be in there. He's going to get in there. If he gets into that, slips into that day 2 area, now we got to start talking about him there. All right, last guy real quick. Zay Flowers, Boston College wide receiver. Obviously, Zay is someone I've been high on if you followed me for a long enough time. He's getting projected 2nd round draft capital right now, guys. 50th overall. Look at this, my guy Zay. I think the analytics for this, we've kind of broken down with Jay Stein. I talked about it here. He's contested catch rate. He's wide receiver 10 in the country this year. Just being as small as he is and how he's kind of looked at as being being kind of a smaller frame. He has contested catch rate, he's top 10. He's not going to check some of the athletic boxes, I don't think, but he does do the little things. Yards after catch per reception, he's wide receiver 10, according to the numbers, especially there. His just ADOT is really low. So it's weird. It's weird how kind of like Zay is all over the board there. What do we think of this kid, Jeff?
The ability to win vertically and the ability to play the ball in the air, especially for his size. I think that's something that he brings, and that's where, probably that second round consensus thoughts are on him. You have obviously a player that could have left last year, and I don't know that anybody in Boston College really had the season that they were kind of hoping for and expecting, with him coming back, with Phil Yurkovich being there, and kind of all those pieces together. They really struggled this year, but he is a player that you mentioned it, the contested catch stats, and you can see it on tape. His ability to find the ball, his ability to go get the ball and bring it down. He does a great job of that.
Yeah, I need to revisit his tape a little bit, because I was really, really low on him, and I think I went into my revisit with a little bit of bias, and so I want to wipe the slate clean and say this guy's getting top 50 buzz. So let me look at it from that lens and see what I see. But I think from a technical standpoint, I think he wins, but sometimes I don't know how. Like, I don't know that he's the most technical route runner, and he's just out there, doing a really good job. And I think he is a good ball winner. I think he probably lives as a Z receiver. And so with his size, I think, like, is Darnell Mooney kind of his ceiling? Is that kind of what we're looking at? I think you're happy with it. So I'm going to revisit, and I don't want to put any crazy takes out.
I would rather, okay. So are we hot taking it yet? So I would rather probably have Zay over Sky Moore ever, like in the last. And I know you're a Sky guy.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm the only one here.
I know. But I'm just, but I've been like, you were on Sky. That's how I've been on Zay for 3 years. So like, I've been one of the Zay guys. I like what he's going to be bring. And if he gets to the right team, like, they haven't projected to the Patriots. If he does that, I'll just kick him. I'm out. But if he goes to some team that, can utilize his skills, I'm on board. That's my guy. All right, let's go to coaching news, because we didn't get to it last week, and we do need to talk about this guy. Deion Sanders, Colorado. Jeff, hot take, go.
I love it. I think that when you really look at it, he's going to do something entirely different. Yes. And he's going to. So people need to realize that college football coaches at Division I level can't cut players except for the first year. They can cut players their first year. And I think that you're going to see some players cut from Colorado. I think you're going to see Deion Sanders try to build between bringing in recruiting class right now and impact freshmen that can play right away, and hammering the transfer portal. And I think that it's going to be a very, very curious case, because we saw Lincoln Riley do a little bit of it, where obviously landing Caleb Williams, landing Jordan Addison. I think Deion Sanders is going to make over the entire roster out of the transfer portal. And so it's going to be, and even rewinding it back, Michigan State. Why am I blanking on Michigan State's coach's name?
Mel Tucker.
Mel Tucker, yes, his first year at Michigan State last year, that he had success out of the portal. And so you're going to see that, as new coaches come in, they're going to try to do this, but Deion Sanders is going to do it at a next level. And so he's a guy that, the good old boy at network at Auburn and Georgia Tech, they weren't interested in bringing him in because he's going to be different. He's Deion, but at their roots, he is an old school football coach at his roots. He believes in discipline. He believes in players taking responsibility, those types of things, but he's got the flash that comes along with being Deion Sanders. And so he's very, very interesting to position Colorado because of UCLA and USC leaving to go to the Big Ten. I think USC is going to roll through the Pac-12 next year, outside of maybe if everybody comes back to Utah and if everybody comes back to Oregon, those teams are going to be there. And Colorado is going to have a steep climb to climb over that. But that year two, after USC is gone and after UCLA is gone, after Deion Sanders has set the framework, that's going to be the time to really watch out for Deion at Colorado, because he's going to be positioned to take advantage of that conference being down a little bit. And he's not going to stick around Colorado. I think that that's something to realize, that this is an experiment that Colorado is willingly stepping into, and Deion Sanders is going to do his thing. So it'll be interesting to see it play out, because it's the type of experiment that, if it works, you're going to see a lot more aggression on, I think, new coaches, and expectations might be a little bit different on new coaches as well, because of the changing dynamics in college football.
What do you think, Christian?
Yeah, well said. My thing with Deion is he's doing things in a very different way, But there is no one that could make me talk about Colorado football more than Deion Sanders, outside of maybe Nick Saban, maybe Kirby Smart. I think if Ryan Day packed up his bags and went out to Colorado, I think that has less impact than what Deion Sanders has. And that's not even like dissing Ryan Day. It's just there's so much with the primetime brand. I toss on Madden when I have a few seconds, and he is part of that whole. He is part of football. He is part of football's history. And kids know that, and kids want to play for him because he was successful in his first stint. And ultimately, he flipped a top recruit to go to an HBCU. When you're able to do that, you have a next level impact on these kids. And I think they know that they're going to get an NFL like education, an NFL experience from this. And so, you say, I think it takes 2 years. I think there's a chance that Colorado pulls in an insane recruiting class this year, and I think has some impact freshmen. Now, whether or not that results in wins is yet to be seen, but I do think that this is going to be a 3 to 5 year stint, and then I think he jumps to the next level. I think he could have jumped to the next level had he wanted. It wouldn't have been the lucrative jobs, the Auburn and things like that. So I think this was the right move. I think it's a curious case of, what happens when a high profile coach goes to a low profile school.
This is a home run hire for him. For Colorado, and this is perfect. If they get Travis Hunter to come there, which is probably maybe the best prospect, that'll be the best prospect Colorado's gotten in 25 years. Just recruit wise, already, just because Deion shows there. And we don't know because we don't even talk about Colorado. We've been doing this show for 2 years. We have not talked about Colorado once, except when we did the Pac-12 breakdown. And I remember just saying, this is the worst team I've ever seen. That was literally the only thing I said, because they had the worst offense. They had the worst defense. And now all of a sudden we're like, hey, Colorado might be going 8-4 next year, or Colorado's going to push for, hey, they're going to be there. And it's all Deion. And I love it. And you know what? I think people get rubbed wrong way with Deion sometimes because the way he kind of acts but he does great things for kids. And you, as an educator, you've seen him do great things for kids, and he can deal with kids that come from a really broken homes, and he can help them and gets them to that next level to be successful. He's going to find that. And I think that's what I love about him. I love Coach Prime, and I know I'm a Dallas fan, so obviously I have that in my heart too, but he is doing something for this program, and his son is one of the best quarterbacks that Colorado's gotten in 20 years. Shedeur Sanders is going to be fine. He has some things to work on, but that quarterback there, he's going to have that. They got the Kent State coach coming there as the offensive coordinator. They went and got the Alabama coach as the defensive coordinator. He's building the program, boys. He might not be there in a few years, but he's going to make Colorado fun for at least 3. And that's good for us because we get to talk about it.
Didn't they get Mike Zimmer as the defense coordinator?
He declined. Or there's something going on with Zimmer, to where he didn't want to go. But but poaching a coach from Alabama,
anyways.
No, they might actually fight on the sidelines. Zimmer and Deion, it was something there.
This is a great hire. I love it.
But they're I love this. I think this is great for college football, and this is great for the Pac-12 because the Pac-12 just got some TV right deals and some money because, oh wait, you guys got Coach Prime. So you know who becomes the superstar once USC leaves? It's Coach Prime, not any team he has more of I think he has more of a pedigree than Oregon football. One guy can do that for an entire program and a conference.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, Ducks fans. All right, real quick. Scott Satterfield, Cincinnati. Any takes real quick, Jeff?
They got an accomplished coach that understands the area, and that's about it. I don't know. I don't think he's not very exciting. I don't think
he's not.
Yeah. We hammered some points home about him. I just find the coolest part about the Satterfield hiring is that the two teams are on the same sideline. That's the coolest part this weekend. So watch that. That might be fun.
Yeah, this is super uninspiring in Cincinnati. He was going to get fired at Louisville this year, and now you hired him over. Louisville got homegrown guy, Jeff Brom, who's done pretty good at Purdue. What he was able to do at Purdue, based on Purdue's pedigree and history, is something to look at. Let's talk about Purdue. Purdue is a very bad program consistently every season. Brom got there. They pushed him to the Big Ten championship this year. So Brom is a very good coach. I actually really like this for Louisville and for Brom. I think this is a good hire. What do you think, Jeff?
I think if Louisville knew they could have gotten Jeff Brom, they would have fired Scott Satterfield anyways and gotten Jeff Brom. That's a home run hire, I think, for Louisville, given his ties to there and the success that he's shown at Purdue. And they really wanted him bad a couple years ago, and Purdue was able to keep him there. But they finally get their guy, and I think that Brom's probably happy to move there as well. So great for Louisville in the cycle, and they probably don't have to pay any. They probably get paid for Scott Satterfield instead of having to pay a buyout. So.
Yeah. Home run hire, and honestly, what he's been able to do with how high profile recruits over the last few. I mean, Aiden O'Connell is I don't think he had stars. He was I believe a walk on. So now that he's at Louisville, he's gonna have a little bit of recruiting pedigree too, and so I'm excited to see what he can do with some athletes.
Yeah. Well, there's the news. Go Dion. All right, let's go over to games. So we're going to play some games, and we're going to get out of here. So, Christian, take us away.
Yes, so the Sportsbook Rundown, this is where we make our picks. I don't want to talk about how I did this week, but Jeff won. He was 6-4. Kevin did better than me at 5-5. I was 3-7. Overall, Jeff is in the lead. We can still catch him. There's a lot of bowls left. And the first one that we are picking this week is Miami of Ohio against UAB. UAB with the new head coach as well that we didn't talk about, right? Trent Dilfer. Trent Dilfer will be coaching this team. He former high school coach that grabs his players by the face masks and yells at them. UAB is 11-point favorites in this game. Kevin, where are you going?
Yeah, I'm going to take Miami, Ohio, just because of the 11 points. A lot of points in the bowl game. They got, hip and hammer those guys there, Smith. Like, I think that they could – I don't know if they're going to win, but they're going to keep it closer than 11.
Okay. UAB covers. UAB down with Miami of Ohio. I've got my Ohio Bobcat stuff on. Miami's our rival. Down with Miami, and UAB covers. Dwayne McBride, watch him. He's going to be a running back in the 2023 class, and he's probably going to tear Miami up.
Yeah, if that kid goes back to school for some reason, he is making a bad decision. I'm going to take UAB in this one as well. I do think that they are the better football team. Next one we're picking, the Cure Bowl, UTSA versus Troy. We talked about that at the top of the show. Troy is 2-point favorites. Jeff, where are you going?
Yeah, low-key a great game out there, and this will be one to check out on Friday. So I will go with Troy. Troy had a dominant performance in their conference championship game. UTSA did as well. So this is going to be a very good game.
Yeah, I am going to take UTSA in this game. Kevin.
Jeff just tried to get cool, hip right there, low key. I've never heard Jeff say that. Look at you. Look at you getting live on Football Guys channel, and you going a little new school. I'm gonna go. I think UTSA Roadrunners. I think Harris is there. Harris is coming back, man. Like, I think this is his 7th season next year now, and you got to look at that when you look at C2C and college fantasy next year. But hey, 3,800 yards, 31 touchdowns. If he's healthy, ready to go, Franklin, those guys are there. If they're playing in this game, I'm gonna go UTSA.
Okay. Next one, Fenway Bowl, Cincinnati versus Louisville. Louisville is 1-point favorites in this game. I'm going to take Louisville. I think they're going to be a little angry. I think those players are going to be pretty angry. Kevin, where are you going?
They might be angry, but they're not very good. So I'm going to go Cincinnati.
That is true.
Yeah, front seven for Cincinnati's defense, I think it's just physical tone on this game. So I'll take Cincinnati.
Fair.
They're mad too. With them too, so they're mad too.
That's true. Everyone's mad in this game. There's going to be a fight in this game. That's my call. Next one, Las Vegas Bowl, Florida against Oregon State. Oregon State is 10-point favorites in this game. Kevin, where are you going?
I'm gonna go Oregon State in this one. 14 team. I think that they're very solid. They beat Oregon. When you're looking at what they like to do, I think they can run the ball against Florida's defense. I think it's gonna be close, but I think I'm gonna go with the upset, or not the upset. I'm gonna go with the favorite here.
Jeff.
Oregon State, motivation to shove it down the SEC's throat. They're going to run it right down their throat. Damian Martinez, Oregon State covers in this game.
They're angry.
Everybody's mad. Everybody's mad.
We need an angry meter. Angry meter on the show.
I'm taking Oregon State as well. So the Los Angeles Bowl, the LA Bowl, cool logo, very cool logo for this bowl. Washington State versus Fresno State. Fresno is 3-point favorites in this game. Jeff, where are you going?
Jake Haener leads the way. Fresno State, Jake Haener, he's got a vendetta against the state of Washington. He's mad because the Washington Huskies didn't want him, and so he's going to go out and win this game.
Yeah, everyone who's angry is going to win. I'm also taking Fresno State because of Jake Haener. I do think that this is going to be his last game at Fresno State. He's going to the Senior Bowl, and so I think this would be a nice little curtain call for him.
We've never talked about like Michael Penix Jr. taking that spot and just outshining Hader. But yeah, no, I think I'm taking Fresno. You know, I got to take Fresno. That's my team. But I will say the reason why also is Washington State lost a ton of receivers in the portal, Stribling, these other guys. Like they're kind of coming in there. If Nakia Watson has a good game rushing, but Fresno State does pretty good at the run. So give me Hader and the boys.
Good. Next one, Lending Tree Bowl, Rice versus Southern Miss. Southern Miss is 6.5-point favorites in this game. And I am going to take, I'm going to take Southern Miss, I think. Kevin.
Yeah, I'm taking Frank Gore Jr. I'm just going to go Southern Miss. That's my guy. He throws, he runs, he catches. He does everything for Southern Miss.
Sure. Frank Gore Jr. against Luke McCaffrey in this game. I'll go with Frank Gore Jr. and Southern Miss. So that's Luke to watch for. So if you're watching this game, Luke McCaffrey and Frank Gore Jr. should recognize those names.
All right. Next one, New Mexico Bowl, SMU 5-point favorites against BYU. Kevin, where are you going?
You know, I'm going to take SMU in this game. I think that when you're looking at it, I know the odds shifted up because of who's playing and everything there. I think BYU is going to be good. They're going to be able to score points, but I just think SMU is going to be a little more healthy.
Okay. Jeff?
BYU, for me, a show-out game for Jaren Hall. I think the lack of Rashee Rice is going to impact SMU, and I'll take the points.
Yeah. I'll take SMU. I just think they have a really dynamic offense. Even without Rashee, I'm curious to see what it looks like, though. But I'll take SMU. Next one, Frisco Bowl, North Texas against Boise State. Boise State is 10.5-point favorites in this game. Jeff, where are you going?
Never bet against Boise State when you really don't know anything about the team they're playing. So Boise State.
Yeah, I'm also going to go Boise State. Kevin?
I'll take Boise just because North Texas is going through a coaching change, all that stuff. I will say though, Ragsdale, running back from North Texas, go transfer please because you are really good, but you never get it.
That's true. The Myrtle Beach Bowl, Marshall 10-point favorites against UConn. UConn had a weird season, but they won football games. They're bowl eligible. Shout out Michigan too, Kevin. I'm going to take UConn to win this game. I think this is one of those that they get up for. Kevin, where are you going?
Yeah, I'm going to take Marshall.
UConn is the happiest team to be there. I'm going to take UConn to win because they're thrilled to be there.
All right. The good old famous Idaho Potato Bowl, Eastern Michigan against San Jose State. San Jose State is 3.5-point favorites in this game. Kevin, where are you going?
Man, I don't know. Give me San Jose State. I'll take Cordero, former Hawaii quarterback in this one.
San Jose State. Don't bet on the MAC. San Jose State.
MAC was down this year. Everybody.
MAC is a tough run for the MAC this year.
I'm going to take San Jose State as well. The Boca Raton Bowl, Liberty versus Toledo. Toledo's 4.5-point favorites in this game. Jeff, where are you going?
I'm going to break my rule that I said don't bet on the MAC because my dad went to Toledo, so I'll go with Toledo in this game.
Oh, man, this one's tough. Liberty lost Hugh Freeze, and he's not coaching in this game. I think that matters a bit. So I'm going to take Toledo. Kevin.
No, yeah, Toledo's won the MAC. Who they beat in the MAC championship again, Jeff?
The Ohio Bobcats.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, so I'm going to go Toledo on this one. And also top 3 bull like logo. Absolutely beautiful logo.
Yeah. Yeah. When you get a chance, go look at all the logos for the bowls. If everyone watching, they look cool, except for what's the one that they messed up? Fiesta Bowl. The old one was better. Okay. Last one, New Orleans Bowl, Western Kentucky against South Alabama. I think Western Kentucky covers in this game. I actually think they lose the game though. But 7.5 is kind of a lot. Kevin.
Give me the Jaguars, South Alabama. The Damian Webb. You notice him. See where he's at. 1,000 yards, 14 touchdowns. He's looked pretty good.
Yeah, this isn't one that'll pop off if you don't know much about these teams, but this is going to be a fun game. Western Kentucky throws it on every play, and South Alabama is a very physical defense, and so I'll go with South Alabama in this game.
And that'll do it for Prospect Poker or Sportsbook Rundown.
All right,
That's
let's
what
go
we're
to
playing.
poker. So let's go to prospect poker. Rules of the game are simple. We're going to play some poker, have some fun on the screen, but we're going to talk to you guys about some prop bets that we really like this week for either college football, NFL, but I think we're going to go college football, most of us here, and just talk about where you're at. So Jeff's at 16-14. I'm at 15-16 for reasons unknown still. I think Jeff's lying about me picking 2 games, and then Christian's at 15-14-1.
Run the tape.
So, all right, Christian, what is your over?
My over is Zachary Franklin, the UTSA receiver, over 6.5 receptions. He had another fantastic year. This is a name you should probably know at this point.
All right, so we've got a 2 of hearts showing, a 9 of spades showing, and then a 4 of spades. And we throw up a 4 of diamonds for Christian. Mine is going to be Dwayne McBride, the running back from, I'm blanking on who, UAB. He led the nation in rushing yards. I believe it was either him. He was either first or second, but over 120.5 rushing yards. He's hit that number every single game except for once. And so we'll go over 120, even though that's a big number, but that's where I expect him to be. And I got a 2 of clubs. Somehow we both have pairs, but Christian has a better pair.
All right, I'm gonna go stick in the NFL. I'm gonna go Josh Allen over 225 yards passing against Miami. I need your boy to step up, Jeff. I don't know what's going on with that offense, but 222.5 against Miami's defense. I do think that he can put up numbers pretty quickly. So give me that over.
An 8 of spades, so not much of anything.
Yeah, thank you for going to the NFL. My under this week is Brock Purdy, under 200.5 passing yards. This is kind of, he's a rookie, so that I felt like that was a good opportunity to talk about Brock Purdy having a great game last week, but did not hit 200 passing yards, and I don't think it happens again this week.
A king of clubs. So I'm going to go under Mac Hippenheimer from Miami, under five receptions. So that's the lowest number, but I kind of think that UAB is going to control this game on the ground. And so that's why I'll go under 5 catches there, and a jack of hearts.
Okay, I'm going to go under Dylan Hopkins, quarterback at UAB, just because I do think they're going to run a lot. And his over-under is only 154.5, but I'm still going to go under on this one. So under 154.5 passing yards for Dylan Hopkins, quarterback at UAB.
A 6 of spades. So that means Christian won this game. I won the first game. And then we're going to go to the final game that we play is a little bit of blackjack. The way we play blackjack is we have trivia questions. When you hit, you get it right, you get a good outcome. You get it wrong, you get a bad outcome. We go pretty quickly on this to finish up the show here, but Christian has a 5 showing. Kevin has, I thought he had it. He's got an 18 showing, and I have a 13 showing. So we'll ask Christian question first.
I got it. All right. So Heisman, we're going to go look at PFF grades, Christian. So I want you to tell me, of the 4, who are the 2 top PFF graded quarterbacks in there? So Caleb Williams, Stetson Bennett, Max Duggan, or CJ Stroud. So 2 out of the 4.
Stroud and Duggan.
No, it's actually Caleb and Bennett. Bennett actually graded just right under Caleb Williams, believe it or not.
Wow, that's remarkable. That's remarkable stuff.
All right, who's got a question for me?
I have an NFL tailored question for you. So who is the highest ranked quarterback from the 2021 class? In fantasy football this year?
The 2021 class, Jalen Hurts.
That's the wrong year. I'll give you another guess.
Justin Fields.
Yeah. The reason I asked
question is Justin Fields.
This is correct. The reason I asked, though, Trevor Lawrence is right on his heels, so I'm excited to see that play down the stretch.
Okay. All right. So I've got a 20 showing. Okay, Kevin. Who's leading the NFL in rushing touchdowns?
Miles Sanders.
No, it's Jamal Williams with 15.
That's right. Damn it.
You busted. So
I would have had freaking 21 too.
You would have had 21. All right. So
Miles Sanders up there, right?
Christian
Miles is like top
busted
3,
so
right?
He's up there, I think.
Yeah. Do I need another question here?
We need Kevin. You got a question for Christian?
Oh crap.
If I bust,
Yeah.
you win, Kevin.
No, here's all right. You know what? All right, so let's stick with the grades. So let's stick with the grades here. Who is the highest rated Power 5 quarterback this season in college football?
Highest rated Power 5 quarterback in college football.
And it's not someone you wouldn't know. Like, this person, like he was the best quarterback according to PFF this season.
Hendon Hooker.
No, Drake May.
Oh, okay. That's fair. I busted really badly. So
You're
who
on.
won? So who wins?
I won.
You won?
I busted.
Oh yeah, you won the second show.
I missed. Yeah.
All right, Jeff.
Jeff, you get your time.
With sincere gratitude and appreciation, thank you so much for everybody out there, everybody that's helped us along this journey. We're thrilled to be going back live. I think that adds a certain element of energy to the show that we're happy to have back. And so please join us on this journey Wednesday nights at 9:00. We are going to run through the end of bowl season. We're going to take you through all those games and whatever news might happen. And then we're going to hammer rookie content. And if you're somebody out there that maybe college football isn't your bag, but you're a dynasty player, you want to know all about the rookie class, we will be hammering it over and over again, and we will tell you everything you need to know Wednesday nights at 9:00. Find us in whatever podcasts you use, the Football Guys College Football Show. Like us on YouTube, do all those social things, and the entire family of Football Guys content. Make sure to check that out. But thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you so much for being here, and we appreciate all of you.
We do.
Yep, 100%.
So we'll be back next week, December 21st, 9 Eastern again. We'll be here. Dropping the like, hit that like and subscribe button too before you leave. We appreciate you guys doing that throughout the day. And be ready for your Dynasty Leagues. We're going to get you ready for your Dynasty Leagues and your rookie content. You already saw a little bit. We have bets. We have fun. We love talking about prospects as we get into this. So we'll be back. Until then, I'm Kevin Coleman.
I'm Jeff Bell.
And I'm Christian Williams. And you just watched the Football Guys College Football Show.